Hi guys, welcome to Homeschooling on Mama's Bed. If you are new here, my name is Gwinnell, so glad to have you here. I'm homeschooling my 7-year-old son, second grade, and also my 4-year-old daughter, preschool. Today, I'm so excited to talk about how to incorporate homeschool study organically with vacation time. This comes at a very timely period for my family because we just had a 2-week vacation. And aside from a couple moments here and there, we did no formal education during this time. However, there are so many activities and things that we did that still count as homeschool. They just are learning opportunities in a different way. So I'm so excited to tell you all the things we were able to do and how I classify them. Now, before I go into all the subjects that we accomplished and all the activities that we did for each subject, I first want to give a disclaimer, okay? I put together a list of all the things that we were able to do that I would count as homeschool. But the things that my family does doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the things that your family does. I always want to make that so clear. I never want a mom or a dad or any parent or grandparent who's watching this and homeschooling their kid and thinking, man, I am failing. I am missing the mark because I'm not doing what she's doing or what they're doing, you know? I want you to know that however you do things is perfect. As long as your gut says this is what we need, you're doing a good job and you're doing great. Do not feel like you need to change things because I do things a certain way or anybody else does things a certain way. I know that sometimes I'm very tempted to, when I watch a YouTube video or I am watching Instagram, I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that. And then I have to intentionally be like, calm down, girlfriend. It is okay that you don't have time for that or that you're not doing that or that you didn't think to do that. It's okay. If you can fit it in, great. If you can't, move along. Let's keep going. So there's my disclaimer. All right, now without further ado, the first category that I was able to work in is language arts. This one was a bit of an easier one to do because we just have routines in place throughout our day outside of formal education where we're already doing extra language arts things. So the first thing there is read aloud time. Every single night when we put our kids to bed, they want to be read to. And it's just a habit. We created that habit. We love that they love that. We love that that's important to them because read aloud time is really important. And we love that that's what they want. So that's a good thing. And every night they need to go to bed. So every night we're going to read to them. So we still got our 20 minutes of read aloud time. And likewise, my son would still read to us occasionally. It wasn't required during vacation, but he would read to us when he so chose. Next, my son loves to create books, whether it's my husband actually physically making a real book with him, which they've done. I'll have to do a video on Instagram at some point of that process. It's really fun. We don't do that very often though. So whether it's making a book through stapling or whatever means, he's very creative when it comes to just making quick books. And then he loves to write in them, make comments, write stories. So that's a great language arts thing to do outside of formal education. And then also journaling. My son has recently gotten into journaling. So with those books that he's making, he's also journaling in them. And he also has some actual books that he can set aside, some actual nice books that we've gotten for him that he can use for journaling. So that's been a great way to incorporate language arts without a formal curriculum involved during vacation. Next is PE. Now, we had 6 kids that we were working with. I have 2 kids, and then I have a sister who lives close by. She's a mindful homeschooler, Nicole. She has 2 kiddos, and then our sister Natalie was visiting from Switzerland, and she has 2 kiddos. So altogether, 6 kids. PE was a breeze to work in. We went on nature walks, we went on river walks, we went on hikes, bike rides, playing at parks, playing on the trampoline, playing in the backyard, you name it. We also went apple picking, and the reason I put this under the PE category and not our field trip category, which I have coming up, is because it was a lot of work, a lot of bending, a lot of moving, a lot of reaching. I consider that PE. It is 100,000% physical activity. Okay, category number 3 is science. This was another fun one to incorporate, and again, most of these things just supernatural. They just happened. I didn't sit down and think, how can I incorporate science into our vacation? I just made a list of all the things we did, and I was like, oh, this was science. Oh, this was math. Oh, this was language arts. Wow, this is so cool. That's why the idea of this video came to pass. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope people know how easy it is to incorporate homeschool into vacation. And if not, here we go. That's how this video came to be. But anyways, so the first thing is just a very unique thing. My dad is a private pilot and he has his flight instructor license. So he is able to actually teach people how to fly. So my son, he's only 7 and he's never flown a plane by himself by any means, but he's gone with my dad. And if you know anything about planes, they have 2 steering wheels or yokes, as you would call them. So anytime my son goes with my dad flying, my dad will teach him things and actually logs it in an official registered flight logbook. So that was part of their vacation. Their science learning was flight. And if you know anything about flying, you know it is 100% science-based. So there was some good science education there. Next, I love cooking and baking. That is probably my biggest passion in life. So we did a lot of baking and we did lots of cooking, and I was able to incorporate the kids with me more because I wasn't as stressed in the day-to-day. Things were a lot easier. So I was able to have them come and cook and bake with me. So a lot of science in there, math too, but I didn't really, that's the math part's more fractions, and they're not really old enough for the fractions part yet. So didn't do much addition in there, but just like the chemical reactions of when you're baking and when you're cooking. So that was a great way to incorporate science as well. Next, my husband's super outdoorsy, very passionate about that. So he took the kiddos out to learn how to build fires, and we did roasting, and there's a lot of chemical reaction going on when you're roasting things. So also a science thing. Building forts, a lot of these things that we just wouldn't consider, to be, and building forts is engineering, and architecture too. You could consider that as well. So there's just so many things in play, and also Legos they played with, and a bunch of like magnet toys, all these things that are considered science and engineering that we just think of as play. And lastly, for science, walkie-talkies. The science behind radios is pretty cool. Next category is social skills. When you have 6 children together from the ages of 4 to 11, you're going to get a lot of contention, a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of overwhelm. So we had some social skills to work on. We had conflict resolution, we had forgiveness, we had compassion, teamwork, patience, whole lot of temperance, adjusting to different cultures and different family rules and different traditions. Again, my sister was coming from Switzerland, and I don't know if you know this, but Europe and America don't do a lot of things a lot of the same ways. There's a good amount of similarities and there's a good amount of differences. So the kids got to really work together and figure out, oh, you do this way. Oh, we do this way. Let's learn to come to a compromise. A lot of skills were learned in the last 2 weeks. Not to mention being in bigger group settings than they're used to, more family together. Plus we also I have a lot of family where we live. We have a lot of extended family. So a lot of group settings that the kids might not have been used to on the day-to-day. They got to just work through the emotional regulation of all the changes and everything going on. Next is math. Now, this one I was a little bit more intentional about. We had a lot of books from Math with Confidence that came in from our library that I'd had on hold. That just kind of came in at the same time. And I will put books on hold in advance, but sometimes books just don't get to me until well after the week that I'm supposed to read them in conjunction with the Math with Confidence book list. So we had like 4 or 5 to go through. And so we did a lot of math books. And my husband was able to help with that as well because he took some time off. And that was so lovely to share the homeschooling load. My husband is incredible. And I love when he gets to teach because 1, he does a fantastic job. And 2, it's not me having to do it. So not that I mind it, but it's so nice to share the load with my husband. So that was fun. Next, we had a very obvious one when you're traveling with 6 kids and all the adults counting. Kids were constantly counting. Okay, do we have everybody here? Are we missing anybody? And then lastly, playing games. There's a lot of math into playing games. So that was a cool way to incorporate math into our vacation. Next, field trips. We did so many fun field trips. There is a magnificent pumpkin patch locally, and I actually did a reel about this on Instagram. If you haven't checked it out yet, go watch it after this. It was so fun, and I hope it just inspires you to gather your loved ones and go do something fun. Fall themed, a pumpkin patch is fantastic. If you're not into that, there are so many other things you could do. A haunted house, just hopefully it gets the wheels turning and inspires you to go do something fun with your family. Next, we went to a hot springs together as a family. That was really, really fun. I was able to get more of my siblings together. My parents joined in. It was really special. The kids were able to dig in the sand, and it's close to a river, so they were able to hop into the river when it got a little bit too warm, and because it still is kind of warm where I'm at right now. It was a fun exploration. I highly recommend something like a hot springs. I also could have marked that as science because the explanation, we did a lot of explaining how a hot springs functions, and also there was a river right next to it, so local people will actually put a barrier of rocks every season, every year. They'll rebuild it because at some point the river becomes too high and it's just gone. But then when the river goes back down, locals will rebuild the springs every single year. So explaining why that needs to happen, what's the temperature control that goes into that. So really cool science experiment there. Still incorporating it in our field trip category, but yeah, it's a little dual there, right? We also have a Scheels nearby where we live. If you don't know what that store is, you might have an REI close to you, a fun outdoor store that also happens to have a Ferris wheel in it and a lot of fun games for kids as well. So that was a really fun center. It's pretty low cost. You don't technically need to buy anything or pay anything to go in. You can just walk around as if you're going to a mall, and it's really, really cool. It was so fun to take the kids there. They loved it. They had such a blast. Next, we went to the library to play a life-size game of Candyland. I am going to put a reel out on Instagram. I have so much video footage of this vacation, and reels are just going to be coming out like crazy from it. I am so excited to share that with you. A good plug to go check out what your library has in store for you. They do so many amazing projects and games and activities. Check out your local library. I bet you they have amazing things that you didn't even know how much you were missing out on. So go to your library. We also did camping. Well, my husband took my son camping. Not me. I do not appreciate camping as much. But that was so fun. Getting camping in is a great way. And also it incorporates science, nature, exploration, all sorts of fun things. Trick-or-treating. So my nephews are never able to be in America for trick-or-treating because the way that their school schedule works, they have a break in October. They'll never be able to miss it because if you are not in school, guys, if you didn't appreciate America, let me tell you something. If you miss school for any other reason than being sick, you are fined. You only get, I think, 1 or 2 days where you can do anything else out of the whole year. So your vacations need to align with the school breaks. So they're here for that, but they always miss Halloween. And so what I like to do with some neighbors is organize a trick-or-treating that's not officially on Halloween. It's a couple weeks before. And my sister's kids love it so much. And it's fun. My kids love it. My other sister's kids love it because they get to go trick-or-treating twice. And who does not love that? Lastly, for field trips was going to a cider festival. I don't know if you'd have something like this near you. My aunt and uncle happen to put on a cider festival annually. They make cider themselves, and then they put together tractor rides and hay mazes and so many fun things. They have a llama farm. I will link it below. They have a llama farm. And so if you're ever in need of llamas, check them out. We love to go to their annual cider festival. It's so much fun, and it's a great extended family gathering and a phenomenal field trip to do. Next was music. My family happens to be quite a musical family. A lot of us play the piano or the guitar, and so just throughout our trip together, we would play music for each other. Next, we had art. You know me, I love me a good art project, and we had a lot going on, so we didn't have time for as much art as I might have preferred, but we did get one art project snuck in there. So we made some trees painted with cotton balls, dipped into paint, and then just made leaves. It was so pretty. Stay tuned for Instagram. The footage will be there at some point. Okay, guys, that is all that I could come up with. I'm sure there's more, but for the time being, that's what I could come up with. I hope that this list didn't make you feel like, ooh, I should be doing more on my vacations, but I hope it inspired you to, in whatever way your family has fun, have fun, and just very organically, simply incorporate school. This time around, I didn't even think about incorporating school into this vacation. It just kind of happened, maybe because I'm just doing homeschool and doing things very intentionally. Next vacation, I might plan a little bit more, for example, around the science things, maybe plan a little bit more explanation around it, not too much more, but just like recognize that I'm intentionally trying to bring some science into this vacation, or I'm trying to bring some math, still organic opportunities, nothing forced, no textbooks or anything like that, but like maybe pulling up a YouTube video and be like, guys, look, this is like how a hot spring works, just a simple thing like that, right? Just make it a little bit more than what I had done. So I even have tips for myself for next go around, and I hope this just inspired you to keep homeschool all year long, no matter what vacation you're in right at that season. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining. Until next time, bye-bye.